Hi, welcome to the ChicoBag podcast, where we talk with inspiring changemakers who are creating real solutions for a better world. I'm your host, Andy Keller, and today I'm joined by Tobie Spears. She's the founder of Be Humanitarian, whose grassroots work in Guatemala has empowered women, supported children's education, and built sustainable community programs. Tobie's journey offers valuable lessons for anyone looking to drive meaningful change. We'll dive into what works, what doesn't, and how you can take action in your own community or beyond. Tobie, welcome.
Thank you. So good to see you. So great to be here, Andy.
Yeah, so thanks for being here. Tell me about Be Humanitarian. How'd you get started and what work are you doing?
Well, we got started a long time ago. And we got started because Guatemala ranks like anywhere between the fourth and sixth most malnourished country in the world. And so there was just so much need. And I knew that we could make a difference. And so what we're doing is just focusing on a couple of main pillars: education, fighting the malnutrition, and creating income opportunities and creating educational opportunities for kiddos that just would not have had those opportunities otherwise.
That's great. So, I noticed at your website that people can get involved in helping you by adopting a child. Is that one of the options?
Sponsoring. Mhm.
Sponsoring a child or um, going on a vacation, but a charity vacation. So tell me about that. Well, what do you
Okay.
call it? First of all, it's not a charity vacation. What's it called?
Yeah, you can use what word works. We call it volunteer vacation, service vacation. Truthfully, it's like a mix, it's a mix between enjoying your time, seeing a country, and really making a big impact, a positive impact in other people's lives. So it's a mix of both, which is why we came up with the fun word. And so yeah, I mean, that's the biggest, like, funnest adventure that I have. Our projects run all day long, whether I'm in Guatemala, whether we have volunteers or not. Our kiddos go to school every day. Our kiddos are eating 3 meals a day. Their families are eating 3 meals a day. And sponsoring somebody means donating. So you donate to make sure that somebody in Guatemala is eating and going to school and getting their uniforms and their shoes and their undies and their socks and all the things that like are needed that sometimes we don't even think about as first world livers. It just isn't something we always need to consider.
So I'm curious, to sponsor somebody, what's the cost to give someone a uniform and food?
Yeah. I mean, what's really cool about working in a developing country is that the dollar goes a long ways. So we have sponsors that sponsor with $20 a month. We have sponsors that sponsor with several $100s a month. For $20 a month, you can make sure that a child attends 20 hours of English classes. So all of our kiddos are attending English classes. And then for education and nutrition, it's 37 a month. Like corporate partners, we're at 300 to 500, just like really, we're not going to say no to your donation. So
Yeah,
whatever amount it is, 100% of it is going to our community and 100% of it is making a real difference.
I think that's great. I mean, when you think about, the cost of helping somebody, I always heard the expression, less than a cup of coffee a day, and it's, it really can make a big difference. And, most of us, have these luxuries that we enjoy every day that, if we were wanted to direct that money, for a greater purpose, it's not that far of a stretch to help someone in need. Uh,
No, like with the cost, I think that term is even really old, Andy, like because a cup of coffee used to be like 60 cents. Like when that came out, I
yeah.
mean, now you go to the local brewery and you're like $7. Um, so yeah, $7 a day, that's an enormous amount of help and support and encouragement because truthfully, it's not all just about money. Like it's about this community knowing that somebody has their back. It's about these kids knowing that there are people that they may never meet in a country that they may never see, that they're cheering them on. They're telling them, you can do this. Like, we believe in you. We have faith and we're here to support you in your dreams and your goals. So it doesn't equate just a dollar amount.
Yeah. Of course, there's the butterfly effect of, helping someone in some part of the country that, someone you don't know in a place you'll never go. What's the benefit?
Mhm.
When you think about it, it's like, well, it feels good to help somebody and know that you're making a huge difference. It's not a
Mhm.
big deal for you to give a certain amount of money, but it's a huge deal to them. And then, of course, if you're looking for some more reason other than that, there's the whole idea that, you know, people who are doing well and thriving makes the world a safer, better place, less war, less, conflict. All that has an impact on our everyday lives. If people need a
Right.
reason for making a difference like this, it definitely, a safer world is the net result, and a happier world that's more in harmony with nature. Because certainly when people are struggling and desperate, that's when you have environmental degradation, that's when you have war and conflict, and certainly that none of that is good, you know.
Right. I mean, I think it's the difference between like thriving and surviving.
Yeah.
Like, like if you're just consistently in the survival mode, you're not concerned about environmental impacts. You're not concerned about pollution or, those are not concepts that are concerning to you because you don't have the energetic ability to care. Like if you're
Yeah.
just concerned about feeding your kids and keeping them safe, those are the priorities.
Yeah. So we're very lucky, to live in an economy where there's lots of opportunity, where, we can think about these things.
Yeah.
So obviously you found a niche, you found something you're passionate about. I'm sure there's other people out there. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, at some point I want to give back. I want to start a nonprofit. A lot of people sometimes will retire and then start a second
Right.
career doing nonprofit work. What's your recommendation for people who, want to give back, do something, that they're passionate about? How do you get started doing this?
There are tens of thousands of nonprofits that already exist. So that would be my first suggestion is find one that resonates with you. Tap into your own interests, your own goals of life. And if it's something that speaks to you, like get on their board, start donating, get involved. Because there are in Utah alone, we have like 1,300, no, sorry, 13,000 nonprofits. Um, and then that's just like one state. So there are plenty of ways to get involved. And so many of us are like small grassroots volunteer run that to have somebody with a real passion or to have somebody that has like a special niche or a lot of energy or money to donate, that's only going to improve and increase the efforts that we're already making, and our impact will only be bigger. So for sure, it's like retirees, like, college students, high school students, I think that's the lesson to learn is that it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to wait until you're like a millionaire. You don't
Yeah.
have to wait until you have an enormous amount of money in the bank to make a difference. That like a $20 donation to a nonprofit, that's making a humongous difference. So there's so many ways to get involved. I think that's the first step is just find something that speaks to you.
I think that's a great point. Depending on where each of us is in life, we either have a lot of time or we have a lot of money or we have, both or we have neither. So, there's, everyone can contribute. And I know like when I've been down in the dumper and when I've felt like, life is stacked against me and, and I get out my violin, I know that when I have volunteered and helped someone, it has made the difference in my mindset that,
Mhm.
that it makes me feel better,
Yeah.
so there's, if anyone's listening, and feels like, they're not happy, my recommendation is the best thing you could do is volunteer.
Well, I would totally agree with that. And I mean, there's really just something. Have you traveled outside of the country? Have you seen developing countries?
Yes. Mhm.
So this might be your experience, but my experience is for sure that like walking on those roads and seeing those people and like me, seeing life outside of the bubble that I live in, it's so like it's just the most impactful experience to really see how billions of people live that, on dirt floors and tin roof houses and one bed for eight kiddos. Like those are the lessons that I take home every single time I leave. And it's just this deep sense of gratitude, this deep sense of appreciation, and a deep sense of responsibility that because I can, you know, I should. So I should be able to pay it forward and help someone else that wasn't as lucky in this life of cards being dealt out.
Yes. Yeah, I have traveled, quite a bit. I've been to India, I've been to Cuba, um, certain parts of South America. India was probably the most remarkable experience because there's lots of different kind of economic
Mhm.
situations that people find themselves in there, in India. And what I've noticed is that there could be people in a situation that seems so like uncomfortable. I guess it's just it's probably a better word to give it. But what I've noticed is that happiness is it exists in those situations. So these people aren't necessarily unhappy. You see joy and happiness, even in a dire situation, which kind of brings, when you bring that back home, you realize that, gosh, we're so fortunate. And there's so many people that have so much more abundance in their life that are unhappy. And there's people that have hardly anything, are happy, and happiness really, is a choice. And of
Mhm.
course, I've seen, examples where, you invest a little bit into somebody in a situation like that, and they're not wasting it.
Oh yeah.
There's been some studies where it's like, do you give a handout or do you give an investment, right? And what I'm blanking on exactly the details. Maybe this better than I do. However, what they found is just handing. People are always scared of handing out money. Oh, it's a handout. It's not. You're uh, giving them something that's not going to help.
Right.
They need to earn it. But I think through the studies that have been done, what people have found, is that actually giving people a significant amount of money, when they get that, they actually invest in their future and set
Mhm.
themselves up for a better life. It's not being wasted on, things that don't matter. It's being invested in something that will pay dividends back. And and when you're in survival mode, as we mentioned, it's very hard to get ahead.
Oh
And
yeah.
a little sum of money given to somebody in need, can make, a life changing. It's not much for us. It could change their lives and the trajectory of their lives forever.
Right. I mean, so talking about like not much for us, a small amount of money. So 200 US dollars. It's not a large amount of money. That's dinner at some restaurants. Um, like we did that last year. All of our families took 6 months of a business class and they learned like how to run a business and business acumen. And you also have to keep in mind that a lot of our population, these are individuals because of their gender, they weren't, they didn't get the opportunity to attend school. And so they're uneducated in a fashion that we would consider. They don't know how to read, they don't know how to write. They definitely haven't taken business classes. They don't have an MBA, leading the way. And so they took these classes and we were able to distribute $200 per individual who finished the class. And yes, do I wish we could do more? Yes. Is $200 what we could afford as our nonprofit? Yes. So we were able to distribute that. And with that, like it's been 11 months now. It's been so cool to see what they came up with, because first, they're looking for things that they know how to do, that is a skill that they can just like jump into. But so we had moms figuring out all sorts of really interesting ways to earn money. And what I've learned is that it's never about a lack of hard work. It's never about a lack of motivation. It's always a lack of opportunity.
That's great. So what kind of businesses are you seeing them create with that seed money?
Yeah. So we've got all sorts of fun stuff. We've got a chicken, like a lot of chicken farming has happened. So my advice to our moms was to come up with something that your neighbors would buy. So a lot of people are like, oh, if we make something, we'll sell it in the States, and that's like our business plan. I didn't want that to be the business plan. Yes, we bring items from Guatemala. Yes, we sell items in the States, but that's not like the daily motivation. I want them to be able to make something that everyone around will buy. So they're selling chickens for meat. We have one of our moms do pigs, like to sell for pork and for meat. We've got eggs. We've got basket weaving. We've got like a little tienda where mom started selling vegetables and chips and, like little snacks. So like really one of our moms has just blown out of the water she got a little stall at the market, like, yeah, it's just been so fun. And I mean, just when when you're looking at such a disadvantaged group of individuals, and what I've been like the takeaway for me, the thing that makes me the proudest is that what they have said to me is this is the first time in our lives that we've ever felt supported, that we've ever felt like somebody has our back. So we've created like a safety net for them where they know they're loved, they know they're safe, and they know that there are people out there wishing them well.
That's great. I mean, that's a perfect example of what I was talking about of a small amount of money changing someone's life forever. It's that old adage, teach a person to fish instead of giving them fish, right? That's what you're doing. And it's amazing work. How can people get involved with you, and how, like, if they wanted to support the work you're doing, or if, any other ideas you have as far as people who want to make a difference?
Yeah. I mean, we're on social media, we're on our website. We've got all sorts of information on our website, behumanitarian.org. We are always interested in speaking to organizations that want to get behind a charity. So a corporation, a small business. And oftentimes we have had small businesses reach out to us because it's their employees that want that. Their employees are like, look, we want to work for something that's bigger than a paycheck. We want to work at a company that's making a difference in the world. So it's the boss that reaches out and they're like, hey, Tobie, we need something like this because my staff and employees are interested in it. So if you're looking for a way to really cement culture, to create like a really positive atmosphere at your work, we've got photos in offices. We've got photos of our kiddos that they're sponsoring, and they get to really be involved and see firsthand what we're doing. And we've had, business owners bring their staff members. We've had business owners bring their teams. Like, you get to walk on the streets. You get to see where they live. You get to shop at the markets where they shop. And it's just a very powerful experience. So any type of engagement, we're thrilled to have anybody get engaged, get involved in any way that works for them.
I mean, I think that's great. And Guatemala is not that far from the United States, so it's kind of near Cancun, right? It's not if you're going down there, it's not that far, and it's a different place, unique place. And that's the thing is, if you really want to travel, do you go to a resort, and kind of live in that bubble,
Right.
or do you really get to know the country and the people? And I always feel, when I get to know people in the country we're visiting and see, everyday people and experience life, that's the more rewarding trip. And
Yeah.
that's where the memories are really created. And it sounds like you've set it up so you can, do both. You get to help, you get to meet people, you also get to enjoy. I saw on your website, roasting marshmallows, in a boiling pot of lava at a volcano. Like that
Yeah.
sounds like a really unique experience. Or, visiting the black sand beaches, which, sounds, very, vacationing. So I
Right.
think those are
Yeah.
all, great things. So what advice do you have for anyone listening that, perhaps, what's the question I'm trying to ask? So there's people listening right now and, maybe they're wondering like, well, how can I get involved with you? Or how can I get involved with a different organization? Or how can I start my own organization? Is there anything that you've learned or mistakes that you've made that you can share of what not to do when going forward?
Yeah. Good question. Running a nonprofit is so much harder than I would ever have guessed. So many people came up to me with the idea. They're like, oh, if you were a nonprofit, we would be able to donate so much more, blah, blah, blah. That hasn't actually ever happened. Like those people that promised when we became a nonprofit to donate, they are not the donate, they're not the donors anymore. Um, so go into it. If you're going to start something, like go into it knowing that it is running a business. There are massive costs involved, and you need a board of advisors that are dedicated to what you might just consider your passion project. And that oftentimes, as the founder, there isn't a paycheck at the end of the day, that it's a volunteer position because the funds are going to such important work that it's sometimes difficult when if there was just a choice between feeding a kid and, getting a paycheck, it's it's different. It's a different type of work. So it's much harder than you might imagine. And it's much more money. Like all of the things that it takes to run a business, you need to have all of those things in place. You need to have a marketing team, and you need to have marketing and social media and graphics and your website and all of those things, like that you're paying all your platforms, your payment platforms. Like you need to have all of that in place. Um, the countless mistakes we've made, like countless, because it's just like running a business, and you throw stuff at the wall and you see what sticks, and sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, it's fun, it's enjoyable, it is life changing. It's, all the positive things, with the reality of it being enormous amounts of work and very little money, very little pay.
So yeah, I hear you there. I mean it's challenging. I think if I was in your position, I almost feel guilty, right? Am I going to pay
Mhm.
myself or, feed, this neighborhood of people? So what, gosh,
Can I throw a question out, Andy?
yes, please.
All right. So there's a movie out. It's called Uncharitable
Uh-huh.
and
Uncharitable?
Uncharitable.
Yeah.
And the whole philosophy is that perhaps we as people in the US have like a misconception about how charity is run, and that we expect people who are running a charity or running a nonprofit to spend $0, to make zero money, and to give 100% of it away. So the argument is that we are running businesses and we're running really important businesses that are changing people's lives and, as you said, making the world a safer and better place. So instead of asking, like, well, how much money do you spend? How much money do you earn? Because I've had that question asked to me. And as a CEO of like ChicoBag, would you ever have considered that question? Would anyone ever walk into your office and be like, hey, Auntie, like, how much money a year do you make from this work? Like, it wouldn't happen. Like, nobody would contemplate that question for you as a business owner. But for somebody that runs a nonprofit, that's an actual question that's asked.
Yeah.
And so, what the argument is to ask, what impact are you making? What difference are you making? That's where, instead of like equating it to dollars,
Yeah.
like let's equate it to impact.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because it really what we want is the results, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a relationship, I guess, between dollars and results, and
There
it's kind of
can
like
be. Yeah.
um, 'cause I know a lot of nonprofits are, you look at what's the ratio between overhead and
Mm-hmm.
how much money is going directly to the cause versus overhead.
Right.
And do you think that's the right metric, or is that
Well, if you're going to bring in an organization to change or to combat or to figure out some of the world's biggest problems, then are you worried about how much those people are making, or are you worried about the changes that they're making? Like, do we worry about how much the CEO of Nike is making? Like, not necessarily. Like, that's not a question that people are concerned with because they're making good products, they're selling a lot, the stockholders are all very happy. But what, like, real life world problems are being solved by
yeah,
Nike? Probably none. So,
yeah.
like, yeah, I think it's a shift of just an ideology shift, which I think is an important, valuable move in the right direction.
Well, yeah, I hear you on that. I would also argue that, CEO pay is a major issue in the United States.
Mm.
As a benefit corporation, which ChicoBag is, we actually have to share our ratio of the highest paid employee, to the lowest paid employee.
Yeah.
And
Normal
that's,
though.
I'm sorry, say it again.
That's like not normal information for most companies, right? Just your B Corps.
Yeah. So as a B Corp, they want to make sure that there isn't this huge pay disparity, that,
Mhm.
that people are being paid fairly, and and CEO pay is the outlandish CEO pay that exists in the world,
Mhm.
is part of that notion. So
Right.
um yeah, perhaps the CEO of Nike is being overpaid, and but your point of it's based on the results, and certainly if we're dedicating our life to do some good, you know these people ought to be paid, so that shouldn't be an issue. That shouldn't be a problem. It's I think what most people are thinking about is it a real nonprofit? Is this a scam? Are people getting rich over people's donations? And there's a lot of history of
Right.
different organizations doing that. When I think about televangelists, from the 1980s, they were taking donations and then buying fancy cars. So I think there's a balance. There is a balance, and I like your point of results, because really that's what it's about. It's kind of like people working from home. It's like the old model of business is, oh, you come and you sit in a desk, you put in your hours, and you get paid, right? And now it's like, well, what are your results? Like, I don't know
Right.
if you're sitting in your desk. I don't know if you're taking your dog for a walk. Like, does it really matter anymore? Like, what are you producing? What are the results? So I
Right.
think that model is really what you're talking about in the nonprofit world, right?
Yeah. Just the shift. Just
Yeah.
the shift. I mean, I live in Utah and I don't know. I know I could be totally biased. We have so many Ponzi schemes and they probably happen all over, but this is the news I hear. And so many business owners they start a business and they rip off people for millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And so, but still, like that exists in the nonprofit world. And still, I don't know I don't know the percentages of it. I don't know if like businesses ripping off consumers or investors is more or less than like a poorly run nonprofit. That, like, I don't know what those numbers are, but for sure, nonprofits have a bad rap, 100%. And then there are like nonprofits out there that are just doing their darndest to
Yeah.
make like the biggest impact, change the most lives. And then we still have to fight with that poor, that poor image that people are still stuck on.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a constant uphill, like advertising and positive, keeping it positive and keeping it light. And then just keep in mind that like, as you guys with the B Corp, like nonprofits, we are required by the IRS to have everything public. So everything that we spend, all of our percentages, it's all public information. So it's out there and it's open to the world to see, that our work is out there to see.
Yeah, and I know there's I guess websites that grade different nonprofits to help people have that trust, and that's something I talk about a lot. We're kind of with a global economy, and everyone's doing business across across cities, across states, across countries. It's hard to know who to trust, what's real, what's fake, and really transparency, I think, is the solution to that. Is telling the stories, having the social proof,
Mm-hmm.
having people vouch for you, like, yes, I went on this volunteer vacation, it was
Right.
awesome, this is the work we did, it's real, and having that level of transparency in business or in nonprofits is the way that you counteract skepticism and
Yeah.
people's fear of getting ripped off.
Yeah.
So
Earlier you asked like what some of my biggest like mistakes were.
yeah.
And some of them, and the most expensive, were hiring the wrong people, like
Oh
hiring
yeah.
the wrong marketing team, hiring the wrong website development, like team. Like those are the things you're just like, because as a nonprofit founder, like I have skills in a lot of areas, but I'm not a website developer. I'm not a marketing developer. Like, so I need those teams. And oftentimes, like, those are the expensive lessons to be learned. Like, and like with, recommendations and transparency, like, you're like, please give me somebody that can actually do what they say they're going to do. Like, that's, that's the question as a nonprofit founder and grant writers and all, like, there, we have hired people in every single field that has not produced results that they said they would produce. And we
Yeah.
still pay them. But their results aren't there. So like those are the expensive life lessons of, of running your own nonprofit.
So what do you do now? So you made these mistakes. So how do you hire, marketing professionals or a company now?
Yeah, when people ask me when I get like an interview from a cute college student that's like, "Hey, I want to go into nonprofit work." I'm like, "Do not trust anyone." Like because that funny position of people saying, "Oh, nonprofits, you can't trust them. Like you don't know where the money's going." I feel the exact same way about hiring people that say they're going to help us. Because it's like, where's the proof? Where's the social proof? We have had direct recommendations. We have had direct referrals from people on our board. They're like, "Oh, hire this person," and then $12,000 later, we
Yeah.
still don't have the things they said they were going to do for us. So there's not like a secret ingredient. I wish there was, because it's been an expensive process to learn. But I think the lesson to be taken away is to be tenacious, to be stubborn, to like keep going, even
Yeah.
when you're like stuck in the mud and somebody has your $12,000 and you're like, You know how many people I could have fed with $12,000? So,
Yeah. I mean, I've made the same mistake. So the learning that I've made is hire slow, fire fast.
Mm,
A lot of people hire fast, fire slow.
yeah,
And if you have somebody that's not a good fit for your culture, it can destroy your culture, and some of the people that are a good fit end up leaving. So it's has a double negative impact if you don't
right.
address it quickly. So hire slow, fire fast.
Wise
The other
words.
the other one is take the time to make sure you have a really good agreement in place if
Mm,
you're going to hire a contractor.
right,
And a lot of times, whoever writes the contract, has the power, I guess, in the relationship. So it's always good to have your own contract if, you know, to start. Or if they do provide you with a contract, pay a lawyer to help you refine it and get into the points that, all contracts are negotiable, even if it's a boilerplate thing. Oh, just sign this. You're like, no, I'm going to review it and then redline it and make changes and make sure that there is pay for performance
right.
clauses, in the agreement. That's the ideal scenario. And if they don't want to agree to it, that's a sign that they don't think, that they don't believe in the performance, metrics.
Yeah, the coolest thing, this is the latest individual that we're going to start working with. They actually do a money back guarantee.
Wow.
It's yeah, and it's the first time I've ever worked with somebody like that. But they're a marketing company, and their whole goal is to connect us with partners on using LinkedIn. Partners that want to connect their like corporate partners.
Yeah.
And I was honest. I was like, look, like we have invested tens of thousands of dollars in people that say they're going to get us new clients, new partners. I'm like, I'm kind of tired of it. Like I've got like this bad taste in my mouth. He's like, okay. He's like, we offer a money back guarantee. So if we don't provide the results that we have said we will do, you'll get all your money back. I'm like, okay. I feel really great about that.
Yeah. And yeah, a lot. It seems like that's more and more common these days, that people, will back up their work,
Yeah.
and most of the time it's not a problem. And then, and so it helps provide you the reassurance. It helps them secure the deal, and, it's a win-win. So
And it makes you feel better, like you're not gonna lose sleep at night. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's great.
yeah.
So any parting thoughts? So I mean, obviously, let's hear your website so anyone listening can go there. But any other parting thoughts before we close?
Well, be humanitarian is a call to action. So that's the strongest reason that I named it that, is that it doesn't have to be the thing that matters to me. It's really just a call to action to get people involved and to find something that resonates with you and to find something that you can do to make the world a better place. So I always invite people to be humanitarian. We need it. Like as a world, we need it. So you can find us at behumanitarian.org. It's just humanitarian.org. We're on LinkedIn and we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on all the things. So feel free to reach out, yeah, I'm happy to answer questions. If anybody wants to join as a corporate partner, as an individual sponsor, if they want to come and like see the work we do, like join us. We've got trips on our website. We'd love to have you come.
That's great. And I was going to ask you about your name because be humanitarian. I actually looked up what's the definition of be human or
Mm,
of humanitarian. And the definition is action oriented.
mm,
And I was like, well, what's the difference between philanthropy? Am I saying that
right.
right? Philanthropy. And that's resource oriented, right? So that's about just resources, but humanitarian is about action.
Yeah.
And
That's really it. It's a call to action. It's an invitation that, find something that you're passionate about, find something that you can put your energy and your love into. Because if if we're all focused on that, then this world really will be a better place.
Amen. Thank you so much, Tobie, for being on the program. And thank you for sharing your insight and wisdom.
Thank you, Andy. So great to be here.